As we watch the destructive rain and winds from Hurricane Ida hammer Louisiana's Gulf Coast, it's impossible not to think of the devastation that Hurricane Katrina brought to the same region 16 years ago today. Katrina made landfall about 60 miles southeast of New Orleans on August 29, 2005. It quickly became one of the worst natural disasters in U.S. history. A storm surge nearly 30 feet high in places led to widespread flooding, with hundreds of thousands of people forced to flee their homes. The damage is estimated to have cost roughly $100 billion, and more than 1,000 people died. For more on how preparation for this storm compares, we're joined by Craig Fugate, a former FEMA administrator during the Obama administration who currently serves as the Chief Resilience Officer for One Concern, and Michael Mann, a distinguished professor and director of the Earth System Science Center at Penn State University and author of the book, The New Climate War. Thank you both for joining me this evening. Craig, let me start with you. After Katrina, the federal government spent more than $14 billion on levees, pumps, seawalls, floodgates, and drainage, all of which provided enhanced protection from storm surges and flooding in the New Orleans area. It's early days, early hours of the night, but does that work appear to be making a big difference, do you think, tonight?
Yeah, but the storms are also different. So I think it did its job. But we also built a lot of structures elevated and hardened even outside of the levee protection zone. And so far, those buildings seem to be doing better. But as you're watching, a lot of older homes, building codes not as strong, they're losing their roofs. We're going to have a lot of housing issues with this storm.
Yes, that's a very good point. Michael, in the 16 years since Katrina, how significantly has climate change altered the way these hurricanes operate? Are things only going to get worse with each year?
Yeah, well, what's unfortunate is Katrina felt like an unprecedented event, and yet we've seen so many Katrinas since then. Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Florence, Hurricane Irma. This is now sort of a regular pattern where we see these monster Category 4 and Category 5 storms striking the East Coast or the Gulf Coast of the United States. This is, make no mistake, this is an expression of the impacts of climate change. Warmer oceans, more heat content, and that's very important. With this latest storm, there was a very deep layer of warm water that fed the very rapid intensification of that storm. It's a pattern we've seen in recent years, and we would not be seeing this in the absence of human-caused climate change. The warming of the planet, the record temperatures of our oceans in recent years has fueled these monster storms.
Yes, they have. Craig, let me ask you this. You mentioned that these storms are different this time around, and they are. Not everything is exactly the same as came before. But what's different this time around, which wasn't there in 2005 with Katrina, is, of course, COVID. As someone who ran FEMA, how hard a task has it been for the federal government, for local officials to plan for an impending hurricane, knowing that hospitals in places like Louisiana are already full because of COVID-19 and the Delta variant?
Well, this is why the messaging is so important that people understand. The hospitals are full. The most dangerous time isn't always during the hurricane. Our experience has been in Florida and other places. We have more fatalities after a storm from accidents, carbon monoxide poisoning, fall, traffic crashes. So one of the messages we want everybody to have is, if you're somewhere safe, stay there. When the storm passes, stay home. Don't get out on the roads. Let the emergency responders and utility crews do their jobs. But our problem is going to be, if people are out there getting injured, the hospitals are already under stress from COVID without adding trauma patients.
Yes, they certainly are. And that's one of the problems of having to deal with so many people who still won't get vaccinated. But that's a topic and a rant for another night. Michael, at what point do we as a society look at the scenes on our TV screens, look at how once in 100-year events are now once in 10 or once in 5-year events, and decide to take action on the biggest issue of our time? A lot of these states being pummeled by climate-induced disasters are red states filled with or run by climate deniers.
Well, that's absolutely true, and it's very unfortunate that we really are seeing these devastating events now. They don't care about whether you're a red state or a blue state. The climate doesn't care about your politics. All of us are subject to these monster storms we're seeing out east, and in the Gulf Coast. But let's not forget that out west right now, we're still seeing record wildfires burning. Right now, we still see the Dixie Fire, the second largest wildfire in California history, is currently burning. It's threatening to become the largest wildfire in California history. And so we're subject to these multiple challenges, these multiple assaults because of climate change. And this is one of the things that the most recent report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, warned about: the likelihood that we will have to deal with simultaneous disasters playing out across our country. It's really going to test our adaptive capacity, our resilience, and it will get much worse if we don't act. The good news is right now our Congress is considering a reconciliation package that could provide the stimulus, that could provide the policies necessary to finally get us off this fossil fuel-driven highway, because the more we drive down this highway, the more danger we encounter.
Craig, 30 seconds left. I just want to ask you that. Michael mentioned the budget package and infrastructure. You're a former FEMA chief. We need to fix our infrastructure in this country, don't we, ASAP?
Yeah, and the problem is we built the infrastructure for the last 100 years, not for future risk. Our response systems, our infrastructure were not built for climate change, and the climate's already changed. So this is not something we have time for. And again, just think about it. Everything we built was based upon the last 100 years of weather threats, not what's happening right now.
Well said. The last 100 years, not the next 100 or even the next 10. Let's hope people are listening. Craig Fugate and Michael Mann, thank you both for your time, your analysis tonight. Appreciate it.